I'd like to call this meeting in order. This is the Solid Waste Authority Finance Committee meeting. Good morning, Ms. Ives.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Morning, sir.
We'll have the invocation by Mr. Ives, followed by the pledge by Mr. Jones.
Everyone bow their heads, please. Heavenly Father, please bless this gathering that's here to discuss the business of the Solid Waste Authority of Horry County. Please help us conduct ourselves in ways that are pleasing in your sight and in the sight of the residents of our county. Please make us good stewards of what you've given us and help us in our deliberations today. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, thank you. In addition to these members up front here, we have one member in the back, our chair. Morning, sir.
Mr. Kinsley.
I'm sorry?
Ms. Pam, good morning. I'm sorry, there's two members. My eyes must be failing again. That's what happens when you are past 45.
You'll know, you'll figure it out one day.
I'll get there eventually. Yeah. It's tough when you get 50. You'll be looking at folks. Oh, I know that person. Folks, need approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Move, second. Therefore, we approve the agenda. First on the agenda is the presentation of a 2025 annual finance audit by Ms. Jane.
Good morning. We have completed our FY25 financial audit for the year. We have with us Dave DeCleva and Claire McLaurin from Smith Sapp, who actually handled our audit this year, and they're going to review it with you and answer any questions that you may have. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I am pleased to report to you today that we have issued an unmodified opinion on the authority's financial statements. That report begins on page 1 of the presentation. I think everybody may have the financial statements either electronically or in a paper copy. An unmodified opinion is also known as a clean opinion. This means that all the amounts and the disclosures that were contained in the statements are fairly presented in all material respects. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Claire, who is the senior in charge on the audit, and she's going to just provide you with some brief financial highlights, and starting with the statement of net position. And I'll let Claire take it over.
All right, so statement of net position begins on page 8. We'll just start with assets and liabilities. The authority's total assets at the end of the year were $130.9 million. That's about a 4% increase from last year, with the two largest asset classifications being cash and capital assets. Cash at the end of the year increased about 6%, and of the total cash, $42.8 million has been designated by the board for specific purposes, and you can see those purposes listed out in note 3 in the notes to the financial statements. Capital assets totaled $74.4 million, about a 4% increase. And this is mostly due to the Piggyback Phase 2 expansion that was completed and placed in service during the fiscal year. Total liabilities at year end were you can see that total on page 9 on the next page. A small decrease of about $78,000 from the prior year. The landfill closure and post-closure liabilities, about $1.8 million, and this is mostly due to the changes in the prior year estimates in permitted airspace for the Phase 3 piggyback expansion.
Just to provide a little more insight there, as the capacity is utilized, that liability is recognized, so that at the end of the landfill's life, 100% of the closure and post-closure care liabilities will have been recognized and incurred.
Total net position then, which is the difference between the assets and liabilities, amounted to 89.4 million. Of this amount, 74.4 represents the investment in capital assets. So if you turn the page, we can talk about the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. Total operating revenues for the year increased by about 4.3 million at 37 million. Tonnage received by the landfill increased by 4.5%, and tipping fees were up as well due to increases in prices per ton for solid waste and mixed construction. Total expenses were 36 million at year end, a 5.8 million increase from last year. And again, there were some changes with the provision for landfill closure and post-closure care costs that had caused the 2024 expenses to decrease. And depreciation increased as well by about 2.8 million, mostly due to the new additions for the fiscal year. Interest income decreased a bit due to a decrease in rates this year, and overall the authority's operations for the year resulted in an increase in net position of 4.8 million. Anyone have any questions with that? All the highlights, I think.
Great. Thank you, Claire. The notes to the financial statements begin on page 13 of the presentation. I'd like to just point out a couple of notes to you. Note number 3 on page 17. This note discloses the purposes for which the board has designated cash in investments. This is the $42 million amount that Claire referenced earlier. You'll see that amounts have been designated for a variety of purposes, primarily closure and post-closure and equipment and construction type pursuits. Over on page 5, this is the capital asset note. You'll see here that it discloses the changes in the various asset components, and you'll see that the landfill did increase by roughly 12.7 million, and that was for the phase 2 that was placed in service. The last note I'd like to bring to your attention is note 7 on page 19. This note discloses detailed information about the authority's closure and post-closure care liabilities. You'll see in that note that roughly, or it's estimated that 51.6% of the total estimated capacity has been utilized at the end of the fiscal year. The last item I'd like to review with you is our report on compliance and internal controls that was issued in accordance with government auditing standards. That report's back on page 32 of the presentation. This report states that our audit disclosed no instances of non-compliance and no material weaknesses in the authority's internal control structure. So overall, everything is functioning well and everything is in good shape. I would like to conclude by saying it was a pleasure working with all the authority staff in completing the audit. They were very helpful, timely, and we got it done in an efficient manner. We'd be happy to address any questions you may have about the financial statements or the audit process.
Question? Yes.
I wanted to ask you questions about your procedure in determining trial balances that you run on our books when you come through and do the work. And what your procedures are in determining which areas of our budget that you look at most closely, and then which trial balances you run to see if our work is correct.
Yeah, the entire operations of the authority is one trial balance, and it's divided into various departments. The audit process, we'll do a variety of procedures. For the cash and investments, we'll send confirmations to the various institutions confirming the balances. We'll send confirmation to landfill users to confirm receivables. We do a lot of recalculation, budget to actual comparisons. We use sampling techniques across the board. So there's a wide variety of procedures and approaches that we do use.
Second question is about our funds that we set aside and are investing. You state what the state requirements are, that we meet those state requirements.
The financial assurance requirements, yes, sir. You're in compliance with those requirements.
We do not control our investments. We turn it over to the county treasurer.
Yes, sir.
So we have to trust that she's following the correct procedures. I appreciate that you included what the state requirements are. Are you aware of any requirement that we must use the county treasurer in depositing investments?
There's none to my knowledge. That's the structure since inception. It has always run through the county.
That's what I've understood, and I haven't understood where there's a written requirement.
I'm not
We must
aware of
use
such.
the county treasurer for our deposits.
The
I
only
have not
report-
been happy in the past. I've just come back on the board. I've been off for 2 years with the way it's been invested. I can appreciate that she does follow what the requirements are from the state. I also think you can do that judiciously and get better returns on the amounts of funds that we have deposited.
You know, the authority is a component unit of the county, and from inception and creation, that function of investing the excess fund has always been handled that way. And there's no state law that would mandate that, but that's just the structure that has been utilized.
Well, and there may be something, and the reason I say that is because somewhere not too long ago, we did do some research on that, because she is required to handle ours as well as Horry County Schools. It's not just ours. She handles all of Horry County Schools investments as well, and there is some regulations as to why. Like I said, I'd have to go back and pull that
Would you
out.
investigate
We can,
that?
absolutely, we'll take a look at that, absolutely.
And because there was an investment in here, and I won't trouble you by trying to find it, but I didn't understand the nature of it. It was something like $6.9 million.
And that's the local government investment pool?
Yes,
Yes. Those are funds that are sent to the state treasurer, who commingles all the funds from various counties and municipalities across the state to get better returns.
And she put some there as well, because that is money that we can pull from when we need to. As we were doing building our next cell, occasionally we would need to pull some of those funds and put them into our bank account. So she tries to keep some that she can actually
Just liquid.
pull. That's exactly right, yes, sir. That she can pull from for us. So there is a reason that she does keep some in that investment.
because the entry before that was a 1 day.
Repurchase, overnight repurchase.
Yes.
Right.
So it was an overnight
Yes,
account.
right. It just
For the
sweeps the
purposes
checking
of
account.
having funds the following day.
That's right, yes, sir.
And wanting to have it covered overnight so that we were
Right.
protected.
Usually she will contact me and say, we've got this money up for reinvestment. Do you have any projects, anything you're going to be needing it for? Can I invest it in this amount for this long, that type of thing? And I usually say, we've got this coming up, or we're gonna be making these purchases. So she'll try to keep some that we can actually pull from when we need it, but the rest of it she'll put into something more long-term so we can get a higher interest rate. Absolutely. She's phenomenal about communicating with us on our
She
needs
is
as well.
communicating with you.
Constantly, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Usually, like I said, they'll even take a look at our bank account on a weekly basis. If they see that our bank account is growing too much, she'll say, can I pull some money from your bank account to invest so that we're getting money off of it versus it sitting in our bank account?
I'm
So-
glad that she's proactive, because there was a period where
Her
I
staff
did
is
not see
very
that.
proactive, absolutely, yes, sir.
The third question I have is on the amounts that we're holding in reserve for retirements. It's an astronomical amount. $10 million a year. We're following the state requirements because we're using the state plan. When you're advising your clients, what do you usually advise on a schedule of what they should be setting aside for retirements?
And-
Do you simply use all of the computations that you're given to cover
And
what commitments are made, or how is that done exactly?
And you're referring to the pension, not to OPEB necessarily, but
No,
you're referring to the
pension.
retirement system.
Retirement system, exactly.
The requirement that we're required from.
Okay, so in regards to the pension plan, that's a state-run plan that all the municipalities and school districts participate in. The way the accounting requirements work is that each employer recognizes their pro rata share of the plan's assets and liabilities essentially. So, what's on the books is the unfunded liability at year end. That's the authority's proportionate share of the total liability of the plan. Now, the authority doesn't have any separate cash set aside to fund that, but it's just a calculated liability that will be funded by future contributions to the plan by.
Future contributions, we're not setting aside in current times.
Correct. Now,
This is
there has.
informative, not setting up a fund for that today.
Correct, and there is some money that's been designated for the post-retirement retiree health care plan, but that's separate from the.
That's separate, exactly. I'm relieved because it's exactly what our payroll is per year, which is really mind-boggling that amount equals our annual payroll.
All the liability calculations and contributions amounts are done by independent actuaries for the state. So currently, I believe the fixed employer match is at 15 or 18.56%.
Ours is 18. Good, I thought it was the other way around. Thank goodness, ours is
The
18.
The employees.
States is the
Employee pays 9%.
Pay
employee
9%.
is 9%. Thank you. I'm going to ask Mr. Chairman that we get a presentation on the whole retirement system so that we can understand it better. But this window into it, thank you for stipulating that. I think the committee should ask for a presentation of our retirement system, how it works, and our contributions. I think our employees might be invited to that too, so they understand what their benefits are. But it was such an astronomical amount, it just had to be expressed to my satisfaction. Thank you so
Well,
much.
the defined benefit pension plans are really a thing that's not very common anymore, other than in the government environment. Most for-profit entities are on a defined contribution type plan.
Thank you. Those are my questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
So are we all comfortable that we can probably make a recommendation to the board?
I am, sir.
Okay, can I get that in motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we send to the board our recommendation, that we accept the recommendations, the findings of our accountants.
Moving second, so therefore, the recommendation will be, the committee recommends to the full board the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 audit as prepared by Smith Sapp Professional Accounting Association, sorry, okay?
Perfect.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, solid waste purchasing policy.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna, let Claire and David leave. Thank you again for everything. Like I said, we appreciate all your hard work and, like I said, we'll be talking to you soon.
We
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The purchasing policy, we have recently, like I said, just looking over it from time to time, we try to take it, review some of our different policies and update them as necessary. And, so we did a couple of things here with it. We actually went through and tried to update, some of the amounts as far as when we would need to actually go out on bid for a formal bid, informal bid, that type of thing. We all know the cost of things have increased drastically, and so for that reason, we were trying to, update this so that it's up to date more with the cost of things as of today. We also did send this purchasing policy to our attorney here to have her review it, to make sure that we were in compliance with Solid Waste Authority's policies, as well as anything that she felt like needed to be updated, any verbiage, anything like that as well. She had just some minor little changes, nothing major by any means. I was just gonna highlight for you kind of where the changes are, the major changes are. On page 1, under the general purchase process, we changed the amount there from $2,500, it went up to $5,000. That kind of sets our limit as to when we would actually need to go out on bid, whether it's informal or formal bid. So anything above $5,000 and above would require either informal or formal bid. Going down to letter D under informal bid processes, we changed that threshold from 2,500 and 5,000 to 5,000 and 20,000, meaning our informal bid process is that we actually go out and get quotes. We get 3 quotes, for anything less than 20,000, but more than 5,000. Like I said, we'll get informal quotes from 3 vendors, at minimum of 3 vendors if possible, and put that together. We have like a sheet that we put together, it kind of summarizes it so that way we can look at it. So we're doing sort of a bid process, but it's more of an informal type process where we have reached out to several vendors to make sure we're getting the best price. And then the last item that we changed on this page, of course, was a formal bid process. We did have it at $5,000, we increased it to $20,000. And when we say a formal bid process, it's just that. We use BidNet, we post it on BidNet, it goes out. Usually there's about a 2-week window that it sits out there allowing, vendors to submit an electronic bid to us through BidNet. And like I said, we increased that because if we had $5,000, we were afraid we would be bidding everything under the sun. That's why we felt like $20,000 was more necessary an amount to set as a threshold. Anything over $20,000 would definitely need to go out on bid for. Over on page 2 of the purchasing policy, and this was more just a little bit of cleanup, under the sealed bid process, we changed that to say an electronically sealed bid because we are using BidNet now. We don't actually have anything mailed into us anymore. They cannot manually bring us one. They cannot fax us. Everything runs through BidNet, which is phenomenal. I will say this because we have had to go back. It tracks everything. It tracks when a vendor opens up the bid. It tracks when they've downloaded it, when they've submitted it, who's looked at it. If you get a vendor that says, well, I sent it in, well, we can track what they've done. And so we've used that from time to time. So it's a great process. And like I said, I know the county uses it. There's a lot of other municipalities that use it as well. And it has worked tremendously for us. It automatically will send the bid out or emails out to different companies throughout the United States that maybe are in this industry, so we can get bids from wherever. So it's very good. So that's why we updated that. And then under the emergency process and exemption purchases there, as you can see, we on page 2, under supplies, we had it listed there for state purchasing, but we added other cooperative purchasing associations because we have started reaching out and using some different ones as well. I wish Ed was here because Ed's the one that's kind of spearheaded trying to, I know the Sheriff's Association is one that he's reached out to and used before. So we try to use as many of those as we can, mainly because, like I said, it's kind of like, piggybacking off one of the other local municipalities. If they've already gone out on bid for it and they've done all the work and then we know that they've gotten the best price possible, why wouldn't we try to utilize that as well? Instead of having to go through the whole process ourselves. So.
Can we
like-
back up one?
Yes, sir.
The sole source process. What do we do to assure ourselves that there is only one source?
And I'll be honest with you, that is not used very often. Mainly, the main time that we use it is if, for instance, we have, I'll just, like I said, unincorporated, the recycling centers. If they have a certain compactor that they have used, sometimes if it's maybe a motor or something like that that is specific for that compactor, they may have a sole source type thing because it's more aligned with that. Or
With that manufacturer?
exactly, yes, sir. More along those lines. Trying to keep things in line. And again, I pick on the recycling centers, but like I said, you don't want to have 2 of this and 3 of this because when you're ordering parts, trying to remember what fits what is, like I said, sometimes those type of things. Or you may only have one manufacturer that will make that specific type of compactor.
And since the purchasing agent will document these, they also make a statement of what they've done to
That's
assure.
exactly right. Yes, sir, same type of thing. They'll reach out to, they'll get an email from them, contact different companies just to see, do you offer this? Can you provide this? Absolutely.
Thank you. If we're going to be challenged, there's going to be something based on something.
You're exactly right. That's why I said, that's not, I'll be honest with you, very rarely is that used. Very rarely. Like I said, we do our very best. And picking on unincorporated, if there was ever anybody that was not going to use it, that would be the ones because they are very adamant about trying to get the best price possible. So.
Thank you for allowing me to stop.
Oh,
you.
absolutely. Like I said, any of these questions, anything like that. So, I think that was really the main changes that we had. Like I said, looking through, like I said, it was more just updating some of the verbiage and updating some of the thresholds.
We were challenged, for example, on the professional services contracts. County has the same policy. For professional services, we don't have to go through the 3-bid process.
That's right.
If it's a unique service that we're getting, and there are only a small universe of potential bidders.
That's correct, yes, sir.
So we want to make sure we protect that as a process that's allowable.
Yes, sir.
But it's considered an emergency process?
Well, not necessarily, like I said, I think this is one that it would fall into that emergency, but we do have a separate, I'm not sure if it's in here, I think it's just coming under it's just an exemption. This is emergency process is an exemption, so it falls under the exemption side, not the emergency side.
If I could ask one more question.
Yes, sir.
In what ways do our policies mirror the county's policies, in which are we changing our own for our own benefit?
Well, and I'll be honest with you, our purchasing policy is nowhere near the county's. They've got a tremendous policy, and it's just that, like I said, theirs has tiers. I'll be honest with you, when you look at ours is very generic,
So
I would
we've
say.
simplified it for
Ours is-
our use.
That's absolutely, yes, sir, absolutely.
I wouldn't want it to be convoluted,
Right,
but we want to assure ourselves that there won't be challenges down the way unless.
and that's exactly why we sent it to our attorney, for that, to be sure that we were covering our bases, absolutely.
Thank you, Dean.
Those are the main changes in the purchasing policy. I'll answer any questions you may have on it. I will just need your approval to send it to our board for their approval.
Okay. We've been working on this for well over a year. The county's purchasing procedure, we could not exist under. It did not work. But with the attorney's approval and all the work that the staff has done here, I'm very comfortable making a motion we accept these changes.
I will concur then.
Okay.
Say aye.
So a second, moving second, so therefore we'll make a recommendation to the full board.
Yes,
On this revised purchasing policy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda,
Our last item is on the budget for next year. Like I said, years ago, we used to have what we called kind of our pre-budget workshop, which was the time that we kind of got together before our actual budget workshop. By the time we get to the budget workshop, staff has already put together what we consider a solid budget for the next year. And we just are really going through with the board to explain the changes, what we've got implemented, those type of things. Not actually, I feel like, giving the board the opportunity to really have a lot of input into the budget for the next year, I guess is what we'd say. And I think in discussions after the budget process last year, we wanted to kind of make that change. Go back, set a time that we can actually sit down with the board, have an informal type discussion about things that you'd like to see in the next budget. Whether it's projects, whether it is programs, equipment you'd like for us to take a look at, and some different things that you'd like to see us focus on. If there's benefits that you'd like to add or benefits you'd like to change for the next year for employees or for, like I said, for the organization. I know at the last committee meeting, Ms. Creech brought up a lot of different ideas and different things that could be done, for recycling. So if there's something in that area, that a different program or something you'd like for us to take a look at, something along those lines, just so we could have some, I'd say, a little more direction from the board as to what they'd like to see in next year's budget. Definitely will help us put it together, so by the time we get to the budget workshop, we're aware of that, and we're not scrambling trying to, like I said, find the funds for this or that. We know ahead of time, hey, this is what the board would like for us to take a look at. Can we do it? Can we not? Do we have the funds to do it? Those type of things. And so, like I said, if there's an area, advertising, if we need to increase advertising for the next year, if the board would like to see us do more there, absolutely. Those are the things that we definitely would like to take a look at. And so, we just felt like that maybe we needed to spend a little bit more time, I think, in really involving the board in the budget process this next year. So as you'll see, I just put a tentative budget calendar in there for next year. It's, like I said, definitely open. I know December's not necessarily always the best time, but I just thought, you know, if we started maybe in the fall, late November, 1st of December, and had a pre-budget workshop. I normally send out the capital budget to staff in November, December, where they'll start working on their capital. Operating does usually go out in January for them to start working on. So I felt like if we met sometime in December, that would give us that opportunity to then put together any ideas, start looking at what we might need to do. If there's changes that the board would like to see to our tipping fees for next year, anything like that, absolutely. Those are the things that we want to know going forward. Like I said, it'll help us put together and prepare a more solid budget for you when we come to that budget workshop. So like I said, like I said, we're open for anything else that the board may suggest. If you want to have 2 meetings, if you want to meet, you know, in December or meet again in January, whatever the board wants to do, absolutely. It definitely helps us, absolutely, as a staff. It really will help us put together a better budget, you know, for the organization if we really have that input on what the board would like to see. So like I said, you know, we're open to any suggestions. I saw Danny come in. Anything that I'm leaving out that you'd like to see with the budget?
No, I think, I think in the past, we've tried to streamline stuff to get through the process. But we found out this past year, we needed to work more upfront. Staff has already started looking at theirs. We need to know what their feelings are, and we need to know your feelings. And everybody understands it. When we're going for first reading, it's not a blip in it. Everybody understands what it is. It's basically, as I've said downtown, your budget is a sheet of music. Through the sheet of music, we play the song. And it's, I think it'd be better this way. We don't need any discord going through the process. I'm not saying we don't need the questions and the debate. That's part of having a good document. But, we just want to improve it this year and build on that.
No, sir, this is more just for your information, and just as you're thinking about this, if you have any ideas, suggestions, anything you'd like to see us do different, reach out to me, absolutely.
This is an excellent idea. For one, it immerses us in the process, and second, it gives you time to react.
Exactly, yes, sir.
Is there any chance you could, start in November versus December?
We can, absolutely.
Well, I just think being practical about it, why not? I mean, it gives us more time to think, you more time to think, and we can talk. And December's busy enough as it is.
It is, you're right.
If it can't be done in November, then we'll do what we have to do. But if it's reasonable and practical, I can see no reason we can't back it out of Christmas and the holiday.
And that gives us that time too, if we do need to meet again, we've got the time in December and January to meet, absolutely.
I mean, I concur with you. I'm normally working on the budget 12 months. When one's finished, there's another one starts.
That's
So
right.
I mean, I concur with you. My suggestion is that, maybe at the next board meeting or whatever, that you do this presentation to the entire board.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, we look forward to, you know, having the board, like you said, actually more immersed in it, hearing, getting feedback. Absolutely, that's what we want to hear. So I appreciate it. That's all I have for you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
No?
Further questions?
I do have one thing. When you had brought up the investments and then the retirement system, would you want me to work on maybe another finance committee meeting, see if I could maybe even get Angie Jones? She's always great about coming and talking to us about the investments and some of that, as well as, like I said, I can see about getting somebody from the retirement system here. They can come and kind of talk about, you know, the retirement system, explain, you know, exactly how that works, if that's something you're interested in.
I am.
Okay.
And I would like to know also the thoughts of the other.
I'm fine with either way.
Okay,
I'm fine with it.
okay. All right, we'll work on something for next month maybe or something.
Excellent.
Okay.
Additional question? Motion
Motion
adjourned.
to adjourn?
Second? Second. We're adjourned.
Thank you.